Frank Vespe, Gary Quill here from theracingbiz.com. It's Maryland Million Day. Gary, nobody's followed Maryland racing closer over the years probably than you have. How about a favorite Maryland Million memory?
Maryland Million memory, gosh. Believe it or not, it goes way back to the early days when Jim McKay's own horse, Sean's Ferrari with Lafitte Pink Eye Jr. won at a big price. That's one that was most memorable.
That's a pretty good one. That's a pretty good one. Jim McKay, the founder of Maryland Million Day, which is the kind of founding day of all these state-bred days all over the country. Pretty cool day. We're going to talk about the last 4 big stakes on the card, races 7 through 10. That's starting with the Maryland Million Lassie. This is actually probably one of the most fun races on the card, I think, the Lassie. You got Gifted Heart, you got Sticking Together, you got a couple other runners of real interest. And Gary, we'll start with your top choice in here, which is the 3-horse Sticking Together.
Yeah, Sticking Together is a 7-2, I guess, third choice. And what attracted me to Sticking Together is the fact that she ran against winners at Charlestown, maybe didn't care for the muddy track, but also that was her third start. She was the beaten favorite, and she finally gets Lasix in her 4th start. So Lasix could be the equalizer based on the fact that in her debut she lost to number 12, Hello Beautiful.
And also, the horse that is my top choice here is the horse that beat her last time out, the 8-horse Gifted Heart. Gifted Heart is a Super 99 filly for trainer Phil Schoenthal, actually named for the heart that was transplanted into his son Emerson. His son Emerson had been very sick, received a heart transplant. That is the Gifted Heart of this name. But this is a pretty cool horse, and actually she ran a really good second in the Dickie Moore Stakes at Charlestown when Sticking Together was 4th. And the jockey, Arnaldo Bocachica, got off and said, you know, I thought we were going to win by open lanes, and she saw the lights because it was racing at night, and she kind of went, whoa, what is this all about? And kind of dropped the bridle, and that was it. So I think she runs a better race here. I think she's a filly with genuine talent. That she's my top choice in this event. I guess we're both using a little bit Hello Beautiful, speedy Brittany Russell horse.
Yeah, Brittany Russell, the new parents, Brittany and Sheldon Russell. So you know Sheldon is looking to supplement the family income with a nice stakes race here. And you know, this is I love about the Maryland Million Day that it showcases the Maryland horses, but it also showcases where horses like this one that went for $6,500 at the Timonium auction can show up in a stakes race.
Yeah, no, that's one of the cool things. Brittany Russell said to me after that horse broke her maiden, she was kind of like, well, that was about the best $6,500 they ever spent. So we're both using that horse a little bit. She ran huge that day. Didn't run badly in a turf sprint in her follow-up.
So, Hello Beautiful, right?
Yeah, I thought she ran okay in the turf sprint. Looked like she was going to win for fun, and then kind of gacked up a lead late. But back on the dirt, she can certainly move forward in this spot. You are also on half in the wrapper, and I am not at all in the wrapper.
I'm a big Brisnet Speed guy, and that was a really good effort last time. Not sure what she wound up beating in that race, but she blew the doors off of them. And just the fact that Great Notion, the greatest current sire for Maryland Million Day, they always seem to show up this time of year.
No, they certainly do. I didn't use that horse. Had lost at maiden 16 at Timonium, went up to maiden 25, and that was a little too much for me to overcome. But as you point out, 2-year-olds suddenly get good, and sometimes they get good faster than we realize they're about to. So maybe she'll run a good one here. I am using a first-time starter in here by Bourbon Courage. Jerry Robb's going to send out, make it a double. He's a good trainer. He wins a lot of races. And the thing that sort of grabbed me about this horse is he has not started a first-timer in a stakes race in the last 5 years. I'm assuming he sees something he likes here.
Well, you're the person who can do the research better than I on those type of statistics. I thought that when I looked here, what grabbed my eye about this first-time starter for Jerry Robb is that he also has his own stable. Him and his wife is No Guts, No Glory Farm. Obviously, number 9, Courtesy Shuffle, 30-1 morning line, but look who shows up on the first timer. Xavier Perez chooses to ride Make It a Double versus the one that he's ridden all 4 of her starts. So that might be tipping their hand what they think about this first timer.
Yeah, I like it. You made a better case for that horse than I did. All right, let's turn our attention to Maryland Million Turf, $125,000, 1 mile on the green stuff. Interesting race here, in part because the 2 best horses of the last 5 years on the turf in Maryland have been Flash Phelps and Talk Show Man. They combined to win 4 of the last 5 turfs. They both retired this year, so that makes this thing wide open.
Right, and what I put when I handicapped the entire card, I said this race is probably the best value race, wide open, and based on how I came up with my top 4, it shows that Frank and I don't see eye to eye. So hopefully, out of our 8, maybe one of them will come in.
All right, you're on Street Copper as your top choice, 5-1. That's a Mike Trombetta horse by Street Magician. Danny Centino is going to ride a horse that just won a 2 other than last time out.
Yeah, I mean, won by a nose, but was in a heap of trouble. The short comment says checked repeatedly, and then going back was the beaten favorite. 4th only by a half. Again, steadied along, early hung. What I like about this horse is that since the layoff from, the long layoff from March of 2018 to spring of this year, something changed with that horse because it's been lights out. It's answered every call, and the speed figures keep climbing. So when you're going to pick someone other than the favorite, Dan Santino, great turf rider, and Trombetta can put him over with the best of them.
I did not use that horse at all, but certainly you make a good case for it. I mean, this was one of those races, you look at like there's like 8 of them that are the same horse, and some of them can't be on the ticket in the end. It's pretty much how I ended up. I used Taxable Goods on top. That's the 12 horse for Lynn Ashby. This is a horse that has been keeping pretty good company of late. Was second in the fine to English Minister, who got really, really good. Then last time out was 3rd behind Pumpkin Rumble, who's pretty good. Paper Laws in good form. So this horse has been keeping the right kind of company, can lead, can stalk. The only real question in my mind when I looked at this horse was the 12 hole. He's got to overcome the 12 hole, which can be a challenge going a mile on the turf here. But other than that, I thought there was a lot to like about this horse.
Yeah, I mean, I have him in my top 3. What I like about, the horse dances every dance. It shows up every time they put the saddle on him. And an oddity that I found through the handicapping is that whenever this horse has faced 9 or more rivals, it's won. How many horses are in this race?
Whoa.
13.
Whoa.
Or actually there was 14, but 13 rivals. So if you're into trends, there you go.
Whoa, look at that. Pretty cute. I just don't even know what to do with that information. That is tremendous.
So that you could say, oh, that's why I picked.
Yeah, but what he said. All right, we both used the 8 horse a little bit. That's Cannon's Roar for Dale Capuano, Trevor McCarthy in the irons. This horse probably going to have to answer some questions about class in this spot, but is a horse in good form right now.
Yeah, I have the dubious distinction of being a part owner in this horse back when he was a claimer running for 16. We knew he could run on the turf. He had never run on the turf before, and he stepped up, and we won in a dead heat back at the 16,000 level when they claimed him about 9 races back. We never thought that moving him up would attract attention, but we lost him to Dale in a shake, and Dale has just, great guns, has made this horse a classy horse, and who knows what the ceiling is.
Well, maybe we'll find out here, right? You also used, and I did not, some kind of magician, another street magician going for Jamie Ness, $25,000 claim, 3 back, couple good efforts since. Notably, Danny Centino jumps off to get on the 1 horse.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this horse is up to win. Hasn't won in over 2 years, even though it's only raced a little more than a dozen times. It ran a super speed figure back during the summer. Actually, 2 nice speed figures at Saratoga, even though it didn't come over a winner. It's a horse for double-digit odds. I'd have a hard time throwing out at the exotics.
Yeah, sure. Take a swing. I used, and I think you did not, the 3 horse here, No Bull Addiction. This horse was a not bad 5th in this race a year ago over yielding ground. Has run a couple of pretty good ones since, just missed in a 2 other than last out behind a horse named Tusk, who came back to win at the same level. Again, this is for Shireen Bracho and Jesus Bracho in the irons.
At first, No Bull Addiction was my last one out, or first one out of my top 4. I really looked at him. I'm thinking that if certain things break right, he could be loan speed.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, it could be Katie bar the door and No Bull Addiction goes gate the wire. The more I looked at the field, the more I gave excuses that maybe that wouldn't be the case, and that's why I decided on others.
Kind of an interesting story with this horse. The owners, Drift Rock Farm, Fred and Holly Wyman, have 2 horses. This one, which they bred, even though their advisor said basically, do you want a pet or do you want a racehorse? And then another horse who's a maiden, so they've had a lot of fun with this horse. The other horse I used a little bit is Love You Much. It's the 9 horse. He is a stretching out sprinter who's been in really good form over the last couple of months.
Yeah, I didn't use them, but according to my notes, it looks like on a firm ground, which hopefully that should be the case, even though we had a little bit more than an inch of rain 24 hours ago. That's the first amount of rain we've had in over a month. It should be firm, and it looks like this horse back around this time last year when it was yielding really didn't run his best, so probably the firm turf will be good for him.
Yeah, he didn't like the yielding ground in this race last year. He stopped pretty badly. Talked to the trainer, Ferris Allen, and he basically said, we're trying it again. It's the only spot we have in the Maryland Million. There's no turf sprint. He said the horse is better this year, which he clearly is than he was last year. He's a little more mature, so maybe he'll carry his speed a little bit farther. We'll find out Saturday in the 8th race, the Maryland Million Turf. Turning to race 9, the Maryland Million Sprint, we go from a race where pretty much anybody could win to a race where I really think there's kind of only 3 horses that can probably win this race,
Okay.
Gary. What's your take?
Well, I thought it was kind of tough. Once you dissect it, yeah, I kind of agree with you that it's 2 or 3 that probably have a legitimate shot. Something outrageous might need to happen for the others. But it'll be interesting, and as they say, pace makes the race, and that's what might determine the winner.
So your top pick in here was Lewisfield. Lewisfield was second last out in the Chesapeake at Colonial Downs. Winner of that, Mr. Jägermeister, comes back, wins a $100,000 stake at Canterbury. Not really sure what you can make of a $100,000 stake at Canterbury, but there you go. That horse is pretty okay, though. He's a legit racehorse. So what's your take? You say pace makes the race?
Yeah, so, and the reason why I like Lewisfield, he blew the doors off of the field last year. Obviously, I think this year's field, with a couple other ones, are a better one. But I just think he's been facing much better horses than the rest of them in here. He hasn't won since winning a 6 furlong race here, his debut for 2019. That's the only race he's won out of the 7 since last year's Maryland Million. Trevor McCarthy getting on, that's like top-notch jock taking the call. And I think even though he typically likes to show speed, I think between Call Paul and maybe a couple others that may want to send, Lewisfield can get a nice stalking trip and hopefully get first run and by some strange reason, I made him my best bet on the card. So there you go. I gave every reason why Lewis Field cannot repeat as the sprint champion.
Attaboy, I like the way you think there. I went with the 6 horse here, Lassie. Lassie draws in as a Maryland bred, not Maryland sired, but to get the field up to 8, they allowed Maryland breds. And I think this horse sits a good trip. I think there is speed in the race. I think Lewis Field is part of it, but I also think some others, including possibly a little bit of cheap speed in here. I think Call Paul is not cheap speed, but he's going to be on the engine. I think Lassie probably sits a good trip here off of that, and making his 3rd start off a couple months away. I think he's got every right to run a big one here, which he's run a lot of good races and a couple of terrific races. He and Lewis Field slugged it out a bunch of times last year, basically kind of splitting it.
Yeah.
So this might be a little bit of a rubber match for them.
Yeah, you talk about eye-popping speed figures. Lassie, every time out, he's right there. Again, he's been facing nice horses as well, and he loves Laurel. 8 wins out of 14 starts, and the ones that he didn't win, he was in the trifecta. So
which is pretty good.
It's kind
14 for 14 is not bad.
Kind of hard to leave him out of the top 3, which for some stupid reason I did.
So now you talked yourself out of Lewis Field and talked yourself into a horse you don't have. Excellent. The other horse who I think has a shot here is Call Paul, the 7 horse. I mean, this horse is a graded stakes winner earlier this year and last year. He's maybe not quite that horse at this moment, but he ran okay, I thought, in the Grade 1 Alan Jerkins up at Saratoga in August, and then came back last time out in, let's say, a really easy spot for him, a 4-horse field where he was 1-9 at Delaware and the Newcastle. He won that one pretty much in a canter. I think he's going to get a little bit of a culture shock here going from that race to seeing Lewis Field and Lassie in here, but he's a real racehorse.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of strange. Like you said, he only beat 3 foes that day, 1-9. He was supposed to do it easy. He did. But the one I had a huge Brusnet speed figure on this, which kind of shocked me because I was actually there that day and I saw him win, and he really didn't look extended, or it really didn't look like that super of an effort, but
right.
The figure came back very strong.
Right. He's got a good buyer too. He got a 97 buyer, which is a pretty big number.
Yeah.
So
how do you think the pace is going to set up? I mean, Service has already said that the horse can rate, and he has. Paco Lopez has never been on him, but he's putting him on him because I guess he's available and he's willing to take the trip down.
Right, and he likes Paco and
45% over the last year.
There's a lot to like there. I think Taco Supreme kind of intermittently is on the pace. I think, Lewis Field is always kind of either on the pace or pressing it. I mean, I think One More Great Time is, in my view, doesn't have the quality to win this race, but I think he's going to be in the mix early.
Fearless Terp's
and Fearless Terp really doesn't have the quality to win this race, in my view, but is always pretty much involved, particularly even going 4.5 furlongs. So, I mean, I think all of those, and then of course Call Paul is fast out of the gate. I mean, I don't know, it's kind of one of those, I feel like all of those horses can go. I don't suspect they all will, but I think enough of them will that a horse that'll be sitting 3 lanes back, like say Lassie, is going to get the setup that he wants.
Right. So the one that we didn't mention was the 1-horse Confessor, and or actually 2 horses.
2 horses. Confessor is one that I'm using.
Oh, okay. And I looked at him. He's the type. He's going to come off the pace. And if there's a pace meltdown, either him or a Hall pass, they're the 2 that will definitely not be anywhere close to the lead. Who knows if there's a pace meltdown? One of them may be able to come in and blow up the try.
Yeah, no, I used Confessor a little bit. Looking back, this horse was in good form in the spring, and ran in the Grade 3 Chick Lang, was 5th, but beaten just 2 lanes. I mean, that was kind of a quirky race where everybody was kind of right there on the wire. So I'm not sure it was the greatest edition of the Chick Lang ever run, but a couple of those horses, including the winner, have come back and are okay. And this horse is making his third start. He was away from mid-May to early September. He's making his third start back. I feel like, I don't know, if you're going to give me 30-1 on him, I'd see him closing in for a piece of this.
So true. And a lot of times on Maryland Million Day, the fans tend to gravitate to the favorites.
Right.
And you wind up getting even a better price than that morning line on the ones who are double digits.
In fact, I might just go to the window right now. I got to go,
You can
man.
just go to cash right now. We're just making it so easy for everybody.
Yeah, bypass all this betting stuff and just go to the winning. All right, so that's the Maryland Million Sprint, leading us to the main event, the $150,000 mile and an eighth Maryland Million Classic. We got the top three back from last year. That was Saratoga Bob for Katie Voss, Do That Dance, who's two trainers removed from Noah Abramson, which was the trainer last year, and then Clubman, who's a trainer removed from who trained him last year. So we got some trainer switches and some claims and some stuff going on, but those three are all back in this race, with maybe roles changed a little bit. Clubman the favorite.
Right, and they're all thanking God that Plenty wanted to run in this race, so that Cordmaker and Top Line Growth and bonus points were on the outside looking in. Did you want to reiterate the rules behind why they are on the AE versus being able to draw in?
Sure. So the rule is the preference given to Maryland sired horses. So the stallion has to stand in Maryland. And the rule these days is if there are 8 or more Maryland sired, the race closes to Maryland breds. If there are fewer than 8, a Maryland bred can draw in up to a total of 8 runners. So for any of the outside horses, Cordmaker, Top Line Growth, bonus points, to draw in there, the 12, 13, and 14, you would need 1, 2, 3, 4 horses to come out.
Gotcha.
So not likely to see any of them draw in. If Cordmaker draws in, he wins.
So to reiterate, if 4 do happen to scratch, does that mean only Quartermaker?
Only Cordmaker.
Okay, all right. That was where I was kind of.
They changed the rule. Last year it used to be that if they went under the cutoff, then all the Maryland breds came in. They moved the cutoff up and changed it. It used to be 6, now it's 8. But they changed it so they come in one at a time to keep it at a total of 8.
And I think both of those changes are for much better.
Yeah, I mean, it's still confusing, but it's less confusing than it used to be.
Yeah. All right, so with all that being said,
you picked Clubman.
I went with Clubman, and it was almost like a process of elimination of who I thought could win the race. I went totally sour on Saratoga Bob.
I agree with that.
And I was kind of sour on him even before I heard that he's coming off the layoff.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to get a race into him. The race wouldn't go.
All true.
So that's a good reason to go south on the defending champ. He could prove us wrong, but I think he needed a race.
No, I think that's right. And Clubman has been in good form. And really, we were just talking about Cordmaker. If you could magically remove Cordmaker from racing, Clubman would look a lot better because he keeps finishing behind Cordmaker. But he's run a whole bunch of good races, including an easy win in the Maryland Coalition at the Big T. Pretty good effort in the Polynesian just behind Cordmaker. I mean, he's a horse. He's a pretty nice horse. He's in good form.
Yeah.
He's going to be happy that the AEs are not in this race.
Yeah, he definitely has blossomed, and I don't know if that's just since trainer Rodolfo Sanchez Solomon has taken over the training duties or not, but he definitely has blossomed into a nice local horse who's taken advantage of the races that are out there for him to take advantage of.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. Now, I looked at this race, Gary, and I was thinking that this is a race with a lot of speed in it. That's how it seemed to me. Like, it seemed to me that I wanted a horse to be off the pace a little bit, and that pointed me ultimately to the 11 horse, Torch of Truth, who won his A other than 2 races ago at Delaware. Then ran a pretty good one last out at Laurel, closing nicely to get up for the lead, but not quite.